Hi there everyone, welcome back to my garden. So today I'm going to take you outside the wall of my house to the front border where I'm going to be giving it its very early spring tidy up. So I just tidy it up a few times a year, maybe 3 times maximum. So take out any obvious weeds, any plants that have died, or in today's case, plants that I feel just aren't performing. Either they're too old or they just don't like the position that I've put them in. So I'll take the camera off the tripod and I'll take you outside and I'll show you the front border. So this is the front border outside the wall of our house. And I haven't actually measured it, but it looks to me about 18 inches deep. That's all it is. And it was wasteland, laid to grass. I've said this before, my neighbour won't mind me showing you. So his border outside the front of his house is actually deeper, but the council would just come along twice a year, trim it down, or worse, spray it with a pesticide or something. So I thought, right, I'm going to claim that as my own. So I dug it all out and put some nice soil in. It's very rubbly underneath. It's got the foundations of this wall in it. So the soil's quite poor, apart from the bit of soil I've put in. The plants don't go down that far before they hit sort of rubble and what kind of insect he is. Anywho, I've planted it up, so I'll give you, and it's been like this for about, I don't know, 10 years now, and every few years I dig it out and put new plants in. So this plant here, I'm just going to go along and give it a spring clean, so take out any of the weeds, the grass. I'm going to cut this shrub right back down today too. I'll show you in there all that new growth at the bottom. So this growth has protected the base of the plant over the winter. And it's all sprouting away there at the bottom. I've got wallflowers, which I've grown from seed. I've got foxgloves again, which I've grown from seed. More wallflowers, which are actually planted out. I think I planted them in December. This is a great big patch of oxeye daisy, which is beautiful. Grows, I would say, about 4 foot up the wall. Then we've got some begonia, which likes it here. So this plant here is looking a bit sorry for itself, but this is Verbena bonariensis. Very, very tall plant. Lots of new shoots down there. So what I think I'll do is I'll take some tip cuttings and then I'll cut it right back down to the bottom. I've got a lavender in there, some linaria, a beautiful geum. There is a bit valerian in, and it's a lovely plant, but it's very thuggish. So I think I'll take him out. This, can't remember what this is, but I don't think it's made it through the winter. It's dead. This lovely little plant here, in my own shadow, is poached eggplant. I planted a packet of the seed about 3 years ago now. And once you've sprinkled that down, you never need to sow it again. It just self-sows. So I've got a nice yellow wallflower, a nice big patch of Aquilegia. This is euphorbia. And it's a lovely plant for the early spring, but it does take over your borders if you don't keep a tight control of it. Gorgeous lipstick red wallflower coming up amongst it there. Another big patch of oxeye daisy. Some ice plant. Fabulous big poppy. Lots of creeping campanula. And Big patch of wallflowers, another begonia with a nice red leaf there. I'll come back to this in a moment. Another big patch of oxeye daisy. And then as we come round here, this is a lovely little bulb here. It's just opening up. It's quite early in the morning. So by the time the sun comes out, this will just be all blue. It's beautiful. Another ice plant. Then in here, these shoots coming up here, this is Crocosmia lucifer. Very big, tall plant, about 4 to 5 foot tall, the spires. In here, I'm going to plant what I'm hoping is verbascum, and then that's it. And it's just starting to wake up now, but when it is in full flower, it's beautiful. And I very, very rarely buy a plant to go into this border. It was initially made up of overspill plants from my garden when I was splitting them. I did buy this Verbena bonariensis. I bought him last year. But yeah, that's what this border is always made up from. When some plants run out of space in the main garden, I dig them up and I'll put bits of them in here. So it's a southwesterly aspect. Out the front of our house is main road and fields. So it's a very exposed aspect. So the plants have to be really tough and resilient. So I don't ask much of them. They just need to be stunningly beautiful and very low maintenance. So this, not last year, but the year before, didn't perform very well. It had been stunning in the past. So last year I mulched it, I fed it, and it still didn't perform. So I think it's had a fair chance. And I think it's just got very old. I think it's had its life. So lots of dead branches there. So I'm just going to dig this out and I'm trying to visualize the area here. I am going to try some lupines in this area. So I've grown them from seed and I have a tree lupin, which I think they're very hardy, tall and bright yellow, which will look lovely beside these huge white oxeye daisies there. And then a few years ago I planted Jerusalem sage, and it didn't do very much and totally forgot about it, and then found it growing in my borders. So I've dug a lump out and I popped it in this pot, and I'm thinking Jerusalem sage might be great in that location as well. I'm going to give it a try, because I can grow brilliant leaves. They are stunning. So yeah, I'm going to plant this tub of Jerusalem sage in one of those areas. Right, so I'm going to try and get this one out without damaging the begonia there. But if the begonia... Oh, and I've planted some wallflowers there as well. I always do this. I cram plants in. Right, see how easy he comes out. Oh, there. I'm just using a nice little border spade here. Come on. I always feel a bit sad digging old shrubs out. Come on. If the border wasn't as full, it would be a lot easier, but then it wouldn't look as good. There we go. Oh. Oops. I think when I get this shrub out, I'll be able to show you the hole he came out of, and you'll see how poor the soil is underneath him. Come on. Oh, he doesn't want to come. And there's a worm. We don't want you. You go back in the border. Right, I think I'm gonna have to chop that root. Sometimes they get a big tap root. That's it. Right, now, because I want to keep most of this soil, what I do is come on, got lots of bulbs in there. Right, I'm going to take these bulbs out. They're not going to get chucked. There we go. So what I do is I just bang it against the wall, any shrub I take out, and I've got bulbs falling out the bottom there, but also it takes off most of the soil, because your soil is so precious. You know, this is good garden soil. Plants that are really hard-working garden plants, perennials and shrubs, they need garden soil, something that really get their roots down into. Right, so I can pull all those bulbs out. You see, those are those lovely blue flowered bulbs. That's one of those bulbs. You know, I think I'm going to take these bulbs and plant them in my garden inside the wall, because I don't think I've got any. I haven't got any of these bulbs in the garden. So that's well worth doing. If you ever come across bulbs that you know you love, don't just chuck them out, because even if they don't flower again this year, even if they've been a bit traumatized, then they'll come again next year. You just replant them. Just gives you the opportunity to get in and do a bit of weeding. So these are some of the lupines that I grew from seed last year. Planted them up in soil from my back garden, and they've been in my greenhouse all last year and all over the winter. But it's a very well ventilated greenhouse, so it's got lots of windows and vents, and I left the door open, so they are hardened off, but they haven't had windrock because I couldn't put them in cold frames or anywhere down on the ground anywhere, because the slugs would have got them. So my thinking was that I would grow them to this size, which is a good size. They'll have a great root ball. You can see all the roots coming out the bottom there, because the slugs will go for the very young tender shoots. But you know, I've sown hundreds of them. I've got loads of lupines, so I hope the slugs don't get them, but if they do, I'll just have to plant more. So what I'm thinking is, so these are all your traditional lupines, and this tall one here is a tree lupine, so he's bright yellow. I'm hoping that these are like a sort of lipstick pink, like, and ruby red, because that's what the mother plant was like. I got the seed from my sister. Right, so here we are at the corner of the house. The main thing I have to keep in mind is that this big patch of Crocosmia lucifer here, it doesn't look anything at the moment, but that will grow 4 to 5 foot. And what it does is it grows up and then flowers and spills forward. So anything I put in this border has to compete. with the sheer size of that crocosmia. It's no good me planting sweet little, I don't know, primula or something down there, because that plant will just take over. So the crocosmia lucifer is bright red, and this hopefully is bright yellow, and obviously a very different leaf as well. So yeah, I'm going to plant him there, and he will do fine, I think. Oh, there's another wallflower I've dug out, look. Right, put that wallflower in there, dig that bit of grass out. And this border just gives so many people so much pleasure, because we are on a very busy main road. Lots of cars going by, people going to work, and one lady actually stopped her car and got out and said how much she appreciated seeing the border on her way into work every morning, which was lovely. Like I say, it costs nothing. These lupins, these are all seeds my sister gave me, and a bit of garden soil. Oh yes, you see, this is what I'm after, a lupin with a really good root ball, so that even if the slugs do munch away at the top of him and set him back, the root ball will be established enough so that he will grow very quickly and recover. Now, I haven't researched this, but my gut feeling is that I'm going to cut him back so he all bushes out, rather than growing one big tall stem and then bushing out at the top. So I'm just going to cut back to this nice group of leaves down here. I think I'm doing the right thing there. Right, here goes. There we go. So that is a tree lupin. He should all bush out from the bottom there. You know, we'll just stick him in there and see what happens. Right, so that's that. Right, and you know what I've decided to do here? Because as I say, I'm not sure what that is. That is definitely loosestrife, which will grow tall and yellow. The wallflowers will die off by the end of spring because they're not perennial ones. And this is just a creeping campanula. Anywho, I've decided that I'm going to put a lupin in here, and then he'll grow up and fill this whole space. It's just, where do I put him? I think I'm going to put him there. He go in there, yeah. This will be interesting to see what happens with these lupins. They are amazing. Awesome. All right, I'm full of confidence now. I don't know whether it's misplaced, but so I'm thinking at the other side of the crocosmia there, and between the ice plant, I'm going to put another lupin here. Hi. So just take this weed away, take that grass out, anything that you instantly recognise as a weed. So I recognise this. It's very pretty little blue flower, but it's just it grows like billio, and I recognise the grass, so I'll get rid of those. But anything you don't recognise that's in your borders, follow your gut. So there's some sticks there, and they're obviously there for a purpose. It's been a plant, and it might be a plant that I'll have to look at the videos and see what it was. You could get these weeds off with a hoe. You just sort of break the stem, and then they lie in the sun and shrivel up and die. I'm just pulling them out. This is Orchomelium mollis here. That's a pretty plant. But anywho, right. Oh, another worm. So many worms in my soil. It's brilliant. Yeah, I can feel lots of wobble there when I'm digging down. But anywho, these are just so healthy. I'm going to give everything a good water in a minute. Look at that. So yes, as I was saying, the reason I grew so many lupins was because there was one year I bought 3 really well established lupins and I paid £15 each for them and brought them home, and I don't know whether they weren't hardened off or what, but the slugs just ate them. And I thought, right, never again. But I do love lupins. And I was telling my sister, and then she came with a Tupperware box full of lupin seeds. So I thought, right, I'll plant them. And they just all germinated. It was so easy. Right. So he looks a bit shocked with the replanting, but I'll give him a good water. Right, so this shrub here, I can cut it back really hard. And it may look drastic, but he'll be absolutely fine. Because I do this with these plants every year. And they'll respond positively to this trim, whereas if you just leave them, they just get more and more spindly and they don't look good. And also, as I've said, this is a very exposed site that they're growing on. So if I left them all leggy like this, the wind would just get a hold of these branches and snap them. I have the same problem with buddleias when they grow rapidly in the spring in my garden. And 9 times out of 10, I'll come out one day and the wind will have just snapped them all because the new branches aren't strong enough to withstand the wind. Right. Careful not to chop into the wallflower there. And you can do the same with your roses this time of year. In fact, that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to go and cut my roses back. They will respond to a very good trim back. Right, there we go. Oh, there's more of it here. Just cut back to anywhere you see a little leaf coming out. That off there. See, it's growing up and round the back. There we go. You know, look at that. So that was growing along horizontally. It's got some roots and then big long stem with nothing until you get to the end. Whereas this, what I've got left now, I'll just show you. I'll take this grass up there. So what I'm left with now is just a lot of little leaves. That looks so much better. And this will just be a lovely big white froth. You know, I think I'm going to put that Jerusalem sage there. I'm telling you how poor the soil is. I think I've underestimated how much lovely homemade compost and everything I've put in this border. I know I've barked it twice, so the soil actually looks quite lovely. Right. Take any stragglers out. And in you go. So this piece of Jerusalem sage I planted in totally the wrong area. So he was in the area where my greenhouse now is. So that's very shady. And these like baking hot sun. That's just what he'll get here. There we go. Oh, I'm very excited to see what he does this year. I do hope he flowers. because I love everything about the flower. I love its structure when it's in flower, and I love its seed heads. It still holds that structure throughout the autumn winter. Right, brilliant. So there we go. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and just maybe have a little wander around your garden and look at areas differently, areas that you would think, oh, you could never grow anything there. If there's a little space and a bit of soil, you'll be able to grow something. So happy gardening this weekend, and I'll see you next time. Bye.